Classes in session.
And welcome to Unlearn 16 Classes in Session as Stuart cracks his neck for the grand opening. I hope I got that on audio. I hope there was a clean. Welcome back for season 3, part 2 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer with Stefan and Stu. Stefan, you want to do a brief introduction before we jump right into Sunnydale?
Yep, I am the chosen one, the Slayer, and the Witch. I am connected. I am Illyria. I am all. I am the first. You can find me at SJ Maroney, Maroni on Instagram, or you can follow my labor of love, the Rebel Without a Closet podcast, RWACPOD, on Instagram, also Patreon, also our Linktree, linktr.ee/RWAC. You can find everything there.
I'll put all of that in the bio there. Stuart, where can we find you besides laughing hysterically on TikTok?
You can find me, on TikTok, laughing hysterically at myself, usually, and my own idiosyncrasies and mental breakdowns. And you can also follow my life in photos on Instagram.
My life
in photos, and my many political beliefs in my Instagram stories, to which I receive so much hate.
Really?
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, I had to private my account.
I don't really get much. I get nothing but a lot of love on Instagram. My hate all comes full swell in Twitter. All of it. All of it.
Do you ever
Apparently
check the
I'm on. Somebody messaged me on Twitter and said, "Oh, Joanna, just so you know, Libs of TikTok have your video, and so does Rumble."
I don't know what a Rumble is.
Rumble's like where everybody that gets kicked off YouTube now goes to stream. So like when Andrew Tate got kicked off, now he's on Rumble. All those Trump guys, Rumble. It's like the YouTube of Truth Social.
That's neat.
I'm very popular there. I'm very excited. Everybody's like, "Well, we just want you to know." I go, What are you telling me for? What am I supposed to do?"
Sections of the web that I will just never go to. I'm very happy to know that that's just another chunk.
Just another section. All right, guys, we are mid-season 3 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer with the first episode. So we're at 12 as we were going through, which is, Helpless. Oh, yes. So this is her 16th birthday?
Her 18th birthday.
18th birthday. Of course, she loses her virginity on her 16th. Keep it together, Joanna. By the way, does anybody else find that funny? In season 2, she's 16. In season 3, 18. Where do we miss the year?
What the?
Did I miss a season? Was there a May sweeps thing where I
missed
the year?
It was the Anne episode. They just explained it off camera. She was gone for a year.
You just explained it. It's the year. The lost year was when she was in hell.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. But Helpless is an interesting episode because what Helpless does, it takes away the Watchers Council and Giles take away all their superpowers and then make her go fight this big bad. What do you guys think of this episode? Because there's so much metaphor in here, I can barely swallow it.
I think that...
Go ahead.
I just think the biggest takeaway that I had for it was just bringing Giles and Buffy back together. Because as we mentioned in the last episode, there was that moment where Giles says to her straight up, "You don't respect me or what I do or who I am. You know what he did to me and you still, you didn't let me know." And then we see this moment of confirmation from the Watchers Council that Giles needs to be removed because he's become too attached as a father figure to Buffy. And there's this moment, this very sweet moment where he's tending to her wounds, and he just it's so sweet, so sensitive, and really does show the connection between them. And for me, that was the strongest part of the episode.
Stu, what do you think?
I think that this really cemented the Buffy Giles daughter father bond. And I think it really, 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 really cemented that here, where he feels so poorly about what he's doing and that he's putting her in danger, that it does cause him to end up being fired from the Watchers Council because he breaks the rules to protect her. And I think that's the kind of cornerstone of that. What makes that relationship so raw and real is that he will always be there to protect her no matter what. And you see that kind of echoed in season 5, where she doesn't kill Ben, but he does,
He does.
because he
Spoilers.
doesn't want her. Oh my God, the show came out 40 years ago. There's no spoilers anymore.
It's been
This is like
87
she was
years.
80 years old, Stefan. Like, it was literally filmed on like black and white and like shown the cave walls. Like, can we just relax with the spoiler warnings? For everything I say. But like, I think you see that echoed in every single season, and I think this is a really prominent example of that. And I think you kind of see that other prominent example if you wanted to create kind of a sisterhood in season 5.
Right.
Very rarely do you see something as strong as it was here, where
Yeah.
Giles puts himself in danger to protect her.
And since I see Buffy always from a sort of a feminist viewpoint, it's interesting because I think the dichotomy in the fight here is what makes Buffy so awesome. Outside of taking away her powers and taking away what technically what they're doing from sort of a generic masculine feminine side, they're taking away all of her masculinity, right? All of those masculine attributes that we would normally attribute to men, her power, her strength, and all of that kind of thing physically. We take it all away and we make her rely on her intellect. And we also, in that same episode, which is why it's happening in Giles is in Trouble, condemn emotionality, condemn having an emotional tie to a person because that is weak. That's the problem. You're not being rational. You're not being calculated, Giles. You're being sucked into this whole the Slayer has friends and family and emotion and parental kind of vibe. And we're calling it in this episode, they're saying that's not the strength. That's your weakness. And the cool part about the episode, and again, Buffy in general, I think is it very clearly stipulates the opposite. No, your strength is important, but your emotionality and your connection, and not just your individuality, but your ability to work with other people and depend on other people. That's your strength. That's your power.
I always love the idea that, love is the most powerful thing in the earth, but also love is weakness. It's such a it's that very, very thin tightrope of like one or the other. Because didn't someone actually correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't someone in this episode say to Buffy, "You hit like a girl"? Like I feel like a
Oh,
vampire
yeah,
said it to
well, when she
Oh
had
her,
all
yeah,
the
or
vampire.
yeah,
yeah. I'm like,
yeah,
but back to what you said about kind of taking away that masculine side of her.
there it
It's like,
is.
well, then she's
Yeah,
just a weak girl, which is just such horseshit. Like, I'm sorry. Best way to say it.
but it's funny. It's horseshit. We all know it's horseshit, but it's still the very underpinnings of the society we're living in. We're saying this show's been on for 40 years, which it absolutely seems like it has, but it's still where we're living.
Mm-hmm.
It's
But
it's
also
still where
Cordelia
we all
saved her.
are. What's that?
Cordelia saved her. Remember when she like went to protect Cordelia, and then the guy pushed her off, and she fell over the bench, and Cordelia just like went off on that guy,
Yeah.
and she was
Right.
like, "How dare you do this? Don't do this!"
There,
That's like,
I think we kind of touched on it a little bit last episode, and I might have just been silent for that. My bad. But for a technical standpoint, but there was something we
Stefan's
mentioned last
microphone
time.
silent system. Yeah.
Yeah, because it doesn't let me speak. Let me speak. But there was a moment in season 3 where they cast aside Cordelia to focus on the other characters, and
Right.
it was kind of odd because there was this huge growth that's going to happen to her in
Yeah.
Angel and moving forward. But I would say after this episode, she only appears in maybe a scene, and
Yeah.
just to sort of like, what's
Wrap
happening? What's going on? Like, just there's nothing to her anymore. And
Yeah.
I kind of thought that was a real disservice, not only the character, but the actress. I don't know what was happening. Well, we all know things were happening in the background, but like,
But that
unfortunate.
really happened, from what I understand, on the set of Angel. Not now. Not with Buffy. I didn't. I've heard her speak about what's gone on the set. I've heard her speak about Josh, but from everything that I've understood, the really damaging, horrific stuff all happened on Angel, not necessarily Buffy. So I don't know why
mm,
they would do that either. I think maybe recognizing how strong of a character she was, and having to build other people up in order to fill that void because they knew the void was going to be left. Maybe that was part of it. I'm not too sure though. Um, so we leave there. So we finish with Buffy obviously successfully negotiating, and we come to one of the, well, has to be one of Xander's best episodes, right? The Zeppo.
Can I say? Can I just say I usually skip this episode? I
You don't
I
like
don't
it?
watch. I
I
don't
wish I
like
had
it.
a coin on me right now. Anyway.
What?
Really?
Yeah. It's not. It's again. There's Xander is hit and miss for a lot of these seasons, and specifically in season 3, I found him to be useless or aw shucks. Well, let's do something else. There's just I do kind of wish they focused on what was happening on in the background of the episode because I I just don't I skip this episode.
Really?
Wow, interesting. Because I think the only reason I want to skip the episode is because exactly like Stu has said, it then goes nowhere. This should have been Xander's moment. This should have been, because it's cool. It's very cool. It's very reminiscent, in my opinion, of Superman. Do we remember when Superman was split into two? Right?
Yep.
Very reminiscent of the good and the bad, of the competent, of the insecure, of all of those sides of our personality. And what should have happened after Zeppo is Xander should have been able to have his collar popped a little bit, and he should have been able to walk a better line after learning this about himself. This should have been a pretty big moment for him, right? And I know Stu kind of feels the same way over there. What do you feel about this
Yes, I
episode?
do. I think this episode you got a really good this is the part that pisses me off the most about this episode is the fact that it was finally the Xander you want to see. It's
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
finally the start of this really great character progression, and it lasts. He kind of stares down the kind of tertiary big bad in this episode, and he comes out the hero without powers, without super strength, without a destiny, and then nothing happens. It's
Yeah.
like it's just done. And this
Yeah.
weird standalone episode just lives in this roster of episodes in season 3 where there is really no place for Xander. Like Xander doesn't really have a storyline in this season. I would argue next season as well. He's sort of a filler character and a filler storyline.
Yeah.
And yet you have this really great start and we don't do anything with it.
Well,
It
and
just sits there.
I think I
It's like a
said
really
this.
bad taste.
Yeah, and I think I said this, and I apologize if I'm repeating myself because I don't know what was actually lost in the last episode. But I do remember saying that a lot of I hope my fan fiction between Spike and Xander survived. But the whole point that Joss always said that he envisioned himself as Xander in high school. He wrote Xander to be a reflection of himself, and in this episode, it was written by Dan Weber, and
Right.
so Dan Weber, exactly
Yeah,
to
I
what
remember.
the point was, he created a strong character for Xander and a strong story arc and a strong progression that could lead to a great character. And Joss Whedon just crumpled it up, threw it away, didn't go anywhere
Yeah.
with it. And I wonder if that has a lot to do with just how Joss sees himself. If he couldn't see himself as that character, so he couldn't allow Xander to be it either.
Well, you know what's funny is that at some point, I mean, I think it's season 7 where Buffy starts delineating all of what everybody is to her, and she says, "Xander, you're my heart."
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen Xander be her goddamn heart a day, but he should have been from that episode. That should have been the start of him because he's never going to be super smart. Xander's not a smart guy. He's not a big intellectual. But what he should have done is he should have been the heart. He should have led with his heart. He should have always known, ethically or morally or like whatever his. That's what should have steered him, and I think it would have changed everything for that character and then for the way that he played off the other characters, especially including Faith that he's about to bump into.
Well, I also said, I think I mentioned last time, and again, I don't know if it made it, but there was a point where clearly Joss didn't know what he was going to do with these characters. He didn't know if he was going to make Xander or Willow gay. He didn't know what he was going to do. All he knew was that he put these little nuggets of spoilers or Easter eggs or whatever within the episodes. And at one point, he Buffy says to Xander, "You are the key," and he says, "I'm the key. I'm the key to one of these big moments
I
that's going
know.
to happen." And in my mind, I'm like, "Is that setting it up? Is that setting it up for him to be the key?" And then they just scrapped it, similar to
Yeah.
how they scrapped the idea of him being the queer character to announcing Dawn with Faith instead. Like there were so many
Yeah.
like what if plot points that were just clearly dropped.
It's very
It's just
frustrating.
so disappointing that that's what happened, because I don't necessarily think that, like, I don't necessarily think that um I don't necessarily think that they thought out a really good roadmap for all the characters. I
No.
think you got one with Willow. I think you got one with Buffy. Even Giles, to a certain extent.
Yep.
Like,
Agreed.
Giles' character in this season sort of flip flops between a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of the comedy comes between the introduction of Wesley, and I think that gives them a little bit more of a storyline and a purpose. But
Even
again,
that was, in my opinion, unnecessary.
it was
You should have gone
unnecessary. But
into
I
his
also
Ripper
think,
side, you know?
right. But I think ultimately what we ended up coming out of season 3 with was they realized in itself they needed Angel and Cordelia to go. There was nothing else for them to do. Cordelia was going to a different university than the rest of them. They wasn't really friends. It didn't make sense for her to follow them. So,
Mhm.
like, this season was really about closing up her Buffy relationship, um, and kind of moving it into Angel where she could start anew. Giles, I really don't know if they had a clear idea of what they wanted to do other than have him fired from the Watchers Council. I think we were leading up to this kind of grappling with him internally of like where he was versus where he wanted to be.
Mhm.
And sort of like the love that he had for Buffy as a like, more paternal love was conflicting with his ability to be a watcher. I think you had Buffy kind of grow a lot this season, built on the growth of last season, and you see her kind of grow up a lot more when she's introduced to Faith and that kind of dynamic. But and like make those tough decisions. But I don't think you see that from any other character. These like
Yeah.
we go into season 4, we leave season 3 with the kind of the school blowing up and them really obliterating their existence
Right.
into that, and then we go into this new landscape, this new university, and Buffy has a storyline which I hate, and we'll get to that when we get in
We'll
that
get
thing.
there. We'll get. I think it's
Um,
funny all of a sudden Buffy's smart. Does anyone else think that's funny?
I
She
think
can't
it's
Yeah,
pass
where
a
did that
awesome
class
come
too.
from?
in her life, and all of a
Yeah,
sudden she gets what, 1,500 on her SATs? Stop it.
Yeah.
What
What are you
energy are you
talking
trying to
about?
push there? Stop it. She's not supposed to. It's not that she's not intelligent, but the reason why she doesn't work in school, the whole point of that should have been she can't fit that mold. There is no way in hell Buffy Summers can write a solid SAT. I'm sorry. That's the anti Buffy Summers. She is not a
It doesn't make
standardized
sense.
test person. That's the point. It's the same reason that Einstein drops out of school. It's the same reason that bunches of people that are brilliant, that have all of these exceptionalities, can't work within that confines. They don't sit down right one day and write a solid SAT. That's season 4, though. I can't. Yeah, I
no,
think they were trying to like
exactly.
keep it all in university and yay, go to school, kids. I guess that might have been the
But I
message.
also think too, and the most like kind of trying part about it is the fact that most shows at that time didn't translate well. Most shows that started in high school didn't translate well to university, and you saw a lot of them fail in that kind of switch over to university. You saw it in Saved by the Bell. You saw it in
Dawson's
shows
Creek.
like, sorry,
Dawson's
Dawson's
Creek.
Creek.
Dawson's Creek. You even saw it in Felicity. Felicity couldn't because it couldn't uh, foothold itself in a real experience
Mm,
of like what was happening. And I think Buffy, I think what they tried to do was interesting, but also horrifying. And in season 3, I think the closing out of storylines created inconsistencies in the character plans. I think having Buffy become this like secret genius, I
yeah,
think kind of
stop it.
creating Xander as this kind as like not looking for approval, going on the open road, having no plan. I think they really with Xander buckled down into making sure that he was going to go nowhere.
Yeah.
And I
I
think that's a disservice to the character they created.
totally agree. And in the next episode, so right now we're right around the time where you have Faith. She's on the edge. She does things by her own whatever, and in consequences, she kills a person. So, like a human
Oh,
being, an accidental. It is purely accidental. You watch it happen. She kills him. But then there's the choice, right? Because then here's the true divergence. You make a horrible mistake, an awful mistake, and you see that tested. Now, where do you go? And you see Buffy go through those things, and she pulls out of it. Well, she pulls out of it because of her support system, because of who she is, because of all those things. And you see Faith, and she goes straight into the bad guy. So what do you
I
think about that dichotomy? Do you think it was too much? Just too
I think it
yes.
was
clean?
too much too soon.
Way too much.
Yeah,
Way too much too soon. 100%. I think that you had such a strong, intelligent character with Faith, and there was so much happening in the background with her that they could have stretched for at least a season. Like you
yeah,
have the clear abuse that she had prior to coming to Buffy. You have the fact that she's literally in a hotel room that is just dirty, and she's alone. She's separated from them at all times. She's clearly in pain. There is so much going on. She has now been attacked. She watched her watcher die in front of her by a vampire that chased her to Buffy. She had another watcher trick her. She's lost faith in Buffy and the friendships that she was starting to make there. And then she makes this choice, and it was an accident. Like you said, what happened was an accident. And for the first moments, you can see that she felt remorse and she was scared, but she chose to say, I don't care. Like, that's what you're not getting. I don't. And I feel
I
like,
don't.
as rude as it sounds, with better writing, this particular arc could have went on longer and had much more of a powerful impact on not
Yeah.
only the story but the characters involved. Because how could nobody on that in that Buffy universe look at Faith and go, she needs help? No one. And
Yeah,
every time she said, no, I'm fine, I'm 5 by 5, leave me alone. That's not what that's not what the Scooby Gang does. That's not what Joyce does.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not what
yeah.
Giles does. It makes no sense for them to just say, okay, leave, bye, and
Right.
just leave. It's just
Yeah.
odd.
Stu, what do you think?
I think that I said this in the last episode as well. I think the major disservice to Faye's character is that it was rushed. I think that a lot of what happened was front ended into the season, and then so they could just have her be bad and this kind of duplicitous double agent character on the back end, kind of doing the mayor's dirty work. And I really think it was a horrible disservice to the character, and that's why she was not so intertwined with the rest of the Scooby
Yeah,
Gang. That sense of outsiderness really played out because they didn't give her enough time to really um, ingrain herself in their everyday stuff. So the fallout wasn't that big for me.
there we
Like
go.
when she killed the mayor's aide, yes, however horrifying that may be, it was an accident. She didn't mean to. They were
Yeah,
being chased. But I do think that in the scope of the episode and that storyline, when she's showing Buffy how to rob, like you want, take,
uh,
like we're just better. I
eat,
think I
take.
think that could have been more of a nuanced conversation, that like a more of a push, because Buffy, for all intents and purposes, was a good girl,
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
like a very virtuous character who didn't break the rules, who always wanted to obey them. You see that in episodes like School Hard. You see that in Anne. You see that in Becoming Part 1 and 2. What's My Line Part 1 and 2. She always, in the side of being selfish, she always didn't come out being selfless in those moments. So for someone to kind of push her so quickly into want
yeah,
take, I
Yeah.
understand
that's good.
that
Yeah,
they're
that's a good
trying
point.
to build off of her feeling of isolation and sadness because of the loss of Angel and how much she have to give up at such a young age. But it didn't translate that way. It
No.
Yeah,
translated as she was being spoiled and kind of like teenage rebellion.
Also, it didn't make any sense for Faith to just be so abrupt in that way, like so black and white. Like it just at that point, she was a little like a little crass, funny, but never arson or robbery or murder. It was such a weird, a very quick turn for both those characters, just to sort of like push that storyline and move to the second part of the season.
She needed a better villain origin story. That's what she needed. She
Yeah.
Yes, she
needed
did.
some Marvel writers to swoop in and give her like a really, pulling on the heartstrings kind of, we get why you're bad kind of situation. You know what I mean? And you needed more of that. Now, do you think all of this, though? I mean, we're talking the way we talk about it, guys. This show would have gone on for 37 years because
And that's
we're
okay.
still talking a lot of episodes, right? In every season. We're not in the days yet where it's like, what are we, 20, 22, 23 episodes a season. We're not in the days yet where it's like, oh, 8 episodes, we're done the season, or 12 episodes, we're done the
Right.
season, right? They
Mm-hmm.
did long seasons. But do you think that they just wasted too much time with filler? Like those one-offs we talked about that are still good
Gingerbread and
episodes.
yeah.
I like
Do you think they
gingerbread.
wasted too much time with what?
I like gingerbread.
I said,
I
well,
love
filler,
gingerbread.
but it's a filler episode. But you're right.
It
Like, did
is.
we waste too much time with those?
Do we
Yes,
waste too much
100%.
time? Or if we did gingerbread, you can still do the theme of gingerbread and then have progression of the characters in what they need to progress.
Well,
I.e., could you have had Faith in that capacity? I know I'm switching a whole bunch of things here, but could you have had a character like Faith kind of going, no, this is disgusting. It's kids. And watching her get big and protective and almost supporting something like Moo, being like, we
mm-hmm.
need more people. We're not getting the job done. I almost get killed and I'm the Slayer.
Yeah.
I could have seen her be pushed by episodes like Gingerbread rather than them just being a one-off where, Buffy gets to kill him at the end.
Because you're 100% right. Where was Faith in all these episodes that didn't have her starring or appear? She could have just been that voice in the background. Like, wait, this is wrong, or wait, I actually disagree, or even just that sort of side to her, where rather than it being such an extreme of like a physical attack, it is just like maybe constant disagreement with Buffy of actually, I think that's a bad idea. Like they had it with Wesley and Giles. Why didn't they do more of that with Faith and Buffy? And with me, because again, I'll come right back to Once Upon a Time. It's my favorite show, or second favorite, but that's just smart writing. You can pull 22 episodes and make it smart writing. Like Faith needs like an evil queen edit where we see the progression or the backstory. It's just there's too many holes in her backstory. Like we don't know anything about her. And then we're just expected to like, oh, she's evil now,
Yeah.
But she's also inconsistent too. Like she's inconsistently written. Mm-hmm. She's either overly sexual, she's overly bad, she's pushing Buffy outside of her comfort zones, pushing her kind of into the dark side. But then also she's remorseful. You see her alone in her hotel room washing the blood out of her shirt. You see her in season 4 after living in Buffy's skin, realizing how much she like deeply hates herself. I love that
episode.
So
but,
good.
The problem is that yes, as Buffy fans, we can appreciate that episode and be like, oh my god, how horrible for this character. It
could have been so much better.
But it could have been so much deeper and more. It could have hit a lot more and been a lot more impactful if we had spent, like Stefan said, every episode. She doesn't need a big part. She doesn't need to be as featured as in like certain episodes. I think you can have that kind of like ebb and flow. But there's nothing. It's just like this inconsistent character who is a very weakly written one. And then we're supposed to care when she basically Buffy kills her or like tries to kill her. But there's not that emotional release there. Like you have this like weird prophetic dream where they're talking and making Buffy's bed, preparing for dawn, as we later find out.
Oh, sorry, that's no incorrect. That's season 5. 4.
No,
you're
season
talking
3.
No, season 3 is where the house is being packed up. Season 4 is where the bed's being made.
Oh,
But she does
Really?
say counting down to 730. Yeah.
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 Here's
You
my
are
question.
correct, but yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question. Do you think, well, looking back on a show in 2022 that was written in 1997 is a pretty lovely gap. Do you think a couple things could be true? Number one, I don't know if they would have written the whole season. I'm not sure how that would have really worked or how much they would have tweaked it and how much they would have seen the big arc, how long they thought they would have been going on for, because that show was on the verge of getting kicked off left, right, and center, right? It's like,
Mhm.
going to get kicked off, then they bring it back. The fans really love it. They bring it back. It goes to a new network and it gets brought back. So it's always bringing back from the brink of death. Do you think two things? Number one, since it's always getting brought back, they're constantly trying to make those one-off shows just in case we can hook new audience members.
Mhm.
So it's not this big storyline. And this is the one I think is more dominant, the show was really ahead of its time. Let's be honest.
Very.
The
Very.
concept of the show, the power of the show, which is why it's a university course, was ahead of 1997. And when we watched it in 1997, I didn't get any of these themes. I didn't think anything big. I really didn't. I thought about it later as I got more education, as I got more analytical, as I got, and now it has this nostalgic value with all of this cool heavy weight. But I still say that show, if written today, has more weight and more prevalence, if I could rewrite it, than any other show I can think about right now. If you did it right.
If you did it right.
I'm not advocating a reboot before people lose their minds, because that never plays out. And Josh shouldn't have another job. But
No.
I think today, it would be, you'd have to really nail it to the wall. Like, you'd really have to be a perfect writing machine. You'd have to be guaranteed certain seasons in order to get at the depth that we're kind of demanding from it now.
What we're accustomed to now.
Yeah.
Right. But I think that's something that you can do by just plotting it out. Also, you both are wrong. It was Graduation Day Part 2 where she had that dream. I had to look it up.
You looked it up.
You're wrong.
I'm not.
The dream she had in Graduation Day Part 2 is when...
Oh, it's Graduation Day Part 2.
Yes, but that's not where they're making the bed. Season 4 is
That's
when they're making the bed. And she's talking about little Miss Tuffet coming all the way down. That's not...
Graduation Day Scene 2.
That is not. It's two different scenes.
It's after the fourth season, right?
Is this part of our trivia? Because I'll bet money on this.
The fourth season is when she's coming out of the grave and running from Buffy, who's trying to kill her.
She's not making the bed in the graduation episode. It is. She walks into the room. She walks into the room, looks around all these boxes. She's like, "Who's going to take all this stuff?" And then, who's going to take care of the cat? And Faith walks behind her and says, "Oh, I don't know. It's just all stuff, scar tissue." It's not. It's not the bed. The bed is in season 4. I will bet money on this.
I think there's more. I'm gonna have to go back and watch it.
Right. I want to know too.
But what I want to say is, what I want to
clips.
say, while you guys are pulling up clips, I was going to say it's fascinating because we have to remember that Joss Whedon was praised at the time for his writing of female characters, and then when you look back at these episodes, you're like, really? Okay.
Well, it's 1997.
I think it's just because 97, and I think we've just evolved so much in our writing for our series. The fact that, like you said, we don't have to do a 22 episode series anymore. It can be an 8 episode series and still be tight and still be like unique and still be like smart. And
Stefan, I want all 22 episodes.
I do. I would not do Buffy as an 8 episode.
But 8 episode season.
I don't know. Some of them were really good. I mean, sorry, Heartstoppers. If I had to cry anymore, I think I'd be dry. I would just suffocate from lack of moisture. You're still looking?
Stu is smiling so hard.
The episode starts.
Screen's open right now. He can't.
It's not 5x5. It's the one right before that. The episode starts with them making the bed.
So here's the thing: is that you're right. Stefan's right. I'm confusing 2 episodes together.
I'm sorry.
No. I always give Stefan credit when Stefan is due.
Thank you.
When
Stefan is due.
Yeah. Stefan is due credit. No, the conversation I'm talking about was in season 3. The scene I confused it with
Right.
It's not. I don't remember this conversation at all they had when making the bed.
But
I apparently
essentially,
I just put the dialogue I liked more onto the
over
scene
the
I
scene
liked
you like
more.
more. But the funny thing is that you're correct though. Like you were right in your dialogue that there was this moment where you're supposed to care about the fact that they're fighting and that she's going to kill
Right.
Faith, but they don't build enough between those two characters.
Yeah.
And
No.
genuinely, just take a red pen or add some extra lines. Give Faith something more to say. And have those lines of dialogue with Buffy
Yeah.
because she was manipulated by Buffy. She was manipulated by Angel. She was manipulated by Wesley. She was manipulated by that other Watcher. She was completely down and out.
True.
And no wonder she went to evil Giles. Like, who else is going to take her in? Like,
Wow.
the way he treated her was so much
I
By the
better
love the
than
Mentos.
mayor.
any of them. I love the mayor,
Look,
but he treated
if
her
I
with a
can get a
kindness that they
copy,
didn't.
if anybody's listening to me right now, Pinterest people, I don't know, whoever those people are, I want a fake copy or a recreated copy of the Book of Ascensions. I have Ascension. I want
With
I
the
want to put
spiders?
those on I want them leather bound. I want them kind of falling apart. I want
Yeah,
Ascension Part 1. I want Big Snake. You can name them whatever you want. Be as funny as you want, but I need them to fill a whole shelf, I think.
that can be
I
done.
also
The
I think
mayor is
Stefan, like,
amazing. And what the mayor is perfect at, again, feminist lens, is this idea. I mean, it's the daddy issue.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
It is the broken little girl with no dad, and he's going to play that, and he's going to give her things and gift her things and make her feel safe and loved, but then always come down with a don't eat too much of that, it's going to make you sick, little girl, or watch
Hmm.
your mouth. He's always careful with her swearing after she stabs somebody in the face. It's an amazing archetype though, right?
It's
It's an
fascinating.
amazing archetype for the
But not
bad
a
guy.
but not a single Scooby treated her in the same way. And they'll turn around and say, "We tried to do this with you, Faith. We tried." No, you didn't. Willow tried to
No.
say to her, like, Buffy was so great to you, and she did this and she did that, and we tried.
horrible.
No.
Not once, not at all. You all betrayed her and then gaslit her to think it was her fault. No wonder she went to the mayor. Like,
Yes, Stu.
I feel like for a character to be in 13 episodes of a 22 episode series, um,
Is that
and
it?
like
Is that all
only
she's in season 3?
she's on only in 13 episodes. She's in
it's wild.
Faith, Hope, Trick, Beauty and the Beast, Homecoming, Revelations,
Should have been in
Amends,
everyone.
Zeppo, Bad Girls, Consequences, Doppelgangland, Enemies, Choices, Graduation Day 1 and 2.
Yeah.
But I think what we're saying is for 13 episodes of this character's development and growth, we still did not get a full character.
At
And I
all.
think for the 9 episode that she was not in, I think there could have been either, like I said last iteration of our last podcast we recorded, where I said have her turn in season 4 when there is that separation already kind of like existing plot device of university pulling them apart, because it would have had a lot more meaning to me. Did I like Faith? I always hated Faith. I thought Faith was the worst character on the show,
Oh,
and
love
I
her.
loved it when she started. But it's so interesting to me because I loved Kendra, and we got very little on-screen time of Kendra, but we got a lot more of a whole holistic understanding of who Kendra was and why.
Right.
And whereas Faith, you had 13 episodes and you still left with a very, very like faint, anemic version of a character.
Well, because think about it. In those 13 episodes, she was in Beauty and the Beast. What did she do? She listened to her headset and then she shot Oz with a gun. In Homecoming, she went to the dance. Like, that's all she did. A couple quick conversations with Buffy and then side character nonsense, B story. Like, it was just nothing was developed for this character until she got to Angel. And I'm glad that she had some development in Angel, and even still in season 4 of Buffy, when she had her 2 episodes and then went to Angel for her 1. There was more development of her in those 3 episodes than
Yeah.
all of season 3. It's
True.
really sad.
But she was only like think of it this way: she was in what, like was something like 19 or 20 episodes of Buffy altogether, and she was in 6 episodes of Angel. And you still got more development
yeah.
of Faith's character in the 6 episodes over the course of 4 seasons in Angel than you did over the course of
7.
3 additional seasons in Buffy.
Yeah, it's
And
insane.
she's only in season 3, 4, and 7.
And yet she's still one of the, like, I also found this very fascinating. Did anyone else notice that she wasn't in the anniversary photo shoot in, was it People's Magazine? They, a couple of years ago, they did this
Oh,
full
you're right.
Buffy. Yeah, they
Yeah.
did this full Buffy
No.
thing. Beautiful, beautiful photo shoot.
Yeah.
Everyone looked fantastic. I actually, and they did actors Q&A. Two things I noticed. Joss wasn't in the Q&A, which makes me believe he was photoshopped into the picture, and that Faith was not in the picture, but yet Joyce was. And I thought that was so fascinating.
But remember we talked about this. I always wondered if Elijah had way more to say, way more perspective, way more whatever about Josh Whedon than she ever let on.
But she also wasn't invited.
I could see that she would just be like, yeah, not invited. He'd say, I'm not going. Or she'd be like, no, thanks. I'm not into it.
How could you say, how could you not invite her?
I could see her not wanting to be in that space with him.
Yeah. I genuinely think.
She got sober. Remember, she went through, and this is very well documented, we're not telling stories out of class here, but she went through relatively serious addiction, right?
Mm-hmm.
When she got sober, and that's obviously after this, I mean, maybe there's triggers, maybe there's things she's not willing to go back into for what? Yeah. So I can sit on it, so I can answer Buffy questions that they never gave. Like, I'm assuming she thinks there was injustice to her character and the role she got and the depth or the lack thereof.
Mm-hmm.
I would have expected that was all very true for her. So maybe she just didn't see much of a point.
Well, and Joss has done some. Yeah, and Joss has done some pretty terrible things to major characters, like in season 6 with Spike and Buffy, literally just taking Cordelia out altogether. Tara, Faith. It's like there are some very questionable story arcs and also just development of characters that you wonder, like, what is the real reason? How did this happen? Yeah,
because I think we're hearing a fraction of it. Even when Charisma tells her story, or
Michelle,
Amber tells a lovely story, or Michelle tells hers.
Amber has a story too.
Yeah,
huh?
Amber has a story too. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, she does.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
And she doesn't. It's like they tell the story, but it's like the story doesn't have a lot of depth necessarily, probably for legal reasons. But you can friggin' Amber Benson, especially, the venom in her voice or the way she writes something, it's like, oh.
Well, I always found it so rude when they would say, like, all these beautiful women were coming in to go for Tara, and then we saw Amber and we're like, her, because she's frumpy and a little bigger, and like, I was like, are you serious? Like, just listen to how, like, if you read interviews from that era and the way they talk about Amber Benson, you think she was the dog-faced girl. You think she was literally deformed in some way. She's a beautiful woman. But again, just like, it was just sad and pathetic the way that they spoke about her.
One of the most empathetic actresses. Like, it's not like I was drawn in by her. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She didn't have me right away. Whatever's going on between her and Willow was interesting, but she didn't have me right away. Mm-hmm. But every single episode, because she wasn't given tons to work with either, she drew you in a little bit more. That stutter, I don't know who decided on her stutter, but that was brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
That stutter was brilliant. It was the part where, it just humanized her and so much, so quickly that you cheered for her right away.
Yeah. And she's
Speaking
powerful.
There we go. And she's powerful. Why is she powerful? Not because of anything she wants. And I really want to talk about Tara obviously next season, because it's not about anything she wants. It's not anything she wants to do, because she doesn't want to do anything with this power. She thinks it's all too big for these kids to be playing with. She's like, careful. She is the most centered and self-assured and confident internally people, I think, of any Buffy character.
Really?
Buffy. Yeah, I do. I think she knows herself. I think once she gets out of that, hillbilly farm she was trapped in for quite a while,
Yeah.
and she can really be her own person, and then she starts to see how the world really works, and she starts to see all these powerful people wield such power with such uh, ill consequence, and then you watch her, like, remember when Buffy is sleeping with Spike and she comes and tells Tara?
Yes, I was literally just thinking of that
Yeah.
same thing. Yep.
What a
Yep.
great scene.
Yep. Very
She
good
couldn't have
scene.
played it any better.
Hmm.
Sorry, we're
I
getting
also
ahead of
think
ourselves.
like when Tara was the first one to realize that Buffy's energy was off when
Yeah.
he was
With
switched
with
with
Faith.
Want to
Faith.
know why?
Yep.
Because Tara knows herself. In order to see other people, you need to first know yourself, and no other character does.
That's true.
None.
Tara's so
Until
good. I
until
love her so
later.
much. I love her so
Well,
much. Okay.
we get another throwaway right before we get to the end of season 3, which I think is the prom. What a waste! These
Hate
stupid
that episode.
hellhounds.
Jesus.
The only good setup is Tucker. You get Andrew
Yeah.
gets to say I'm Tucker's brother 1,700 times. That's kind of
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
But, oh my God! What a waste of an entire episode.
Also, his villain origin story was just so funny. It's like, do you want to go to the prom? No, and that was it. That was the
That was
whole.
it.
I thought
That's
that
kind of
funny.
funny though. I feel like that's kind of funny. But she gets the umbrella. Okay, fine. But outside of that, the whole we had choices and we had the prom in which we could have seen so much more of Faith
Yeah.
and Buffy and
Yep.
and what was to come, right? Because let's be honest, graduation day 1 and 2 are awesome.
Well, they do
They're
set up the
they're kind of
graduation.
fun.
They're amazing. I mean,
Stuart. For anybody not watching right now, you're just listening. I got a scoff and a head tilt coming out of Stuart's.
It's the giant worm. It just looks so
It's true.
terrible
oh
on
my
the
Okay,
God, it
TV.
looks so
for a
bad
second.
now.
It looked so bad then. Listen, that shouldn't have been done.
No.
That
Even
shouldn't have
his
been
head erupting from his suit.
Oh my God. So
the ascension. My favorite part, I think, of any Buffy ever, and I use this quite a lot when I think of really bad politicians, is when they're sitting in the audience waiting for him to ascend, and they go, he's going to do the whole speech. He's truly evil. And then the other was just like, oh, just ascend already. I'm like, oh my God. I feel like I could play that before Ron DeSantis speaks, when Trump's
Raleigh.
speaking. I feel
Yep.
like it's the perfect speech for long-winded, evil morons.
Yep.
Just ascend already. Just do whatever it is you were going to do. What were you going to do? Blow something? Go do it. Get it over with, right?
I just want to back up for like 2 seconds, because I will say the only two things that happened in the prom that were important are the setup for Angel, because we find out that Cordelia's family lost all their money. So Xander has this really nice redeeming moment where he buys the prom dress for Cordelia.
But again,
And
where does it go?
no, nothing, nowhere, nothing. But we also have Angel breaks up with Buffy. This is the moment where Angel hurts her for like the last time, or at least it's the start
and he says, after this is done, I'm just going to go.
I'm just going to go. Which is
go.
so funny, because they shouldn't have shown the camera shot from like the far left, because it looks very epic when she's looking into the distance and he's in the fog and the fog is overtaking him. But then when you see it from the other camera angle, he's 15 feet away from her. Just go give her a high five. Just like walk away. He could literally give her like a pat on the back as he's out the door. He is so close. I'm like, oh, this isn't epic. This is kind of sad. This is embarrassing for you.
I pay a lot of money just to get that high five, dubbed in there. I think that would be awesome.
But also, this is one of I said in the last episode, there are like 5 essential soundtrack moments of Buffy, and Graduation Day Part 1, when Faith versus Buffy, that the fight and the music that goes with it is one of the most like on repeat moments in my brain most days. Like, and it's amazing, but it's so unfortunate because the edits to the original that were, I guess, changed for digital for either Disney Plus or Fox, because both of them had a hand in modifying the original files. You can see so clearly that it is an old woman fighting for Faith, and also there is at least half of a camera set crew in like where she's. God, it's so funny, and there's green screens. I'm like, guys, Just
Pull it
little
together.
things. Little things.
Well, at the end of graduation day, you get Buffy
Just
with the knife
Stefan
in
is it?
her gut.
Guys,
You
guys.
guys. You
The end of graduation
guys.
day part one, you get the knife in her gut. She falls off,
Yeah.
falls into the truck. She rides off into the distance to
Loved
only
it.
find her. And that's kind of a fun. Well, Stu, what's your problem with graduation besides the snake?
I
Do you not
think
like
what
the camaraderie, the flamethrowers? What don't you like about it?
I don't actually dislike graduation day. I think what I don't I think the only thing that I have an issue when it comes to graduation day is where was this help before? If they were able to rally the troops and rally all the students and all the students knew what was happening, what was going on, where was this before? Because from to this point they were nerds and like picked on and
Yeah.
losers. So it's very interesting to me that with like the some like rousing speeches from the losers that all of the jocks, everybody, every single different like club, group, organization, sect of the population of this high school was like, yes, I will take up arms and
Can,
fight the giant snake that's going to happen.
can we
Like
Set up
mention,
as
not
the
one
umbrella.
person,
but
but like
like,
not one person was like, "Huh,
maybe I just won't
I don't
come.
know if he's going to turn into a giant snake. I think Willow Rosenberg might be crazy." Like she's
Well,
lost
okay.
it. Her teaching schedule and the stress of exams and getting into university, along with the heavy teaching schedule this principal has her doing, she's cracked.
She's also dating like a band guy. So like, but can we
Yeah.
talk about the fact that the parents just were like deuces and just ran away? All
Oh, I
their
know.
kids are gonna get eaten by the snake. The parents are just gone.
They
It's like,
used
well,
to.
Timmy,
I
happy
mean,
graduation.
Moo was around for about 37 seconds, and then the parents are like, "Nah, I like forgetting it even happened. We're going to go back
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
the closet here and pretend we
See ya.
know nothing." Yep.
Nothing. How did not a single parent? Nobody
Or the
talks about
police.
or the police. Nobody talks about the giant snake that just and the fact that the whole place exploded. There are some holes, but I will say nothing was more satisfying than again.
That's
Kai is
later.
watching this for the first time. Oh yeah, eating the first eating the vice principal. Nothing was more satisfying than I'm watching this and he's never seen the show, knows nothing about it. And when the mayor started turning into the snake and starts erupting into that giant, he literally just slow panned his face towards me with this shit
Listen,
eating grin. And he's like, really? I was like,
it can't
it's the
all be
90s.
golden.
It's the
It can't
90s.
all be golden.
He's
I've
like,
still seen some of that
okay.
stuff to this day on CGI. I hate CGI in
It was
general.
just so funny because he was like kind of snickering to himself. And I'm like, it was
What else could they have done?
1999. Like
Okay.
nothing.
When we wrap this up and we get to go to season 4 next episode, before we wrap this up, what would you have done rather than he had to ascend? I like it. I like the
Mhm.
ascension. I like he had to eat the bugs. I like everything about the mayor. What in that last moment when Willow says, just ascend already, what would you have had him become that could have been practically sort of created in 1999?
Like the judge. I would have preferred him to come like the judge or like some
Something
sort
in
of
a big
other
suit.
demon,
So like a person.
Like a
like a
wraith.
larger version of him. I don't think you had to use the same actor, but
No, no. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
I think there's like other practical things you could have done. I even think like maybe not a giant snake, maybe it could have been, I don't know. I know they kind of set it up as to be a giant snake, but
Well,
even
When they
like
opened up the thing, they're like, look at how big it is. And then they opened it again and they opened it
yeah.
again.
But
I
even
think
like I guess my biggest confusion when it comes to that is that how is a giant snake supposed to lead an army? Like
yeah.
how is he communicating? How is he having these
He's
things? At
Yeah,
the
well
end when he was like,
gosh.
"Oh gosh!" Like it was like goofy.
But look what they did to
He
Oz.
was
Like
doing
it in season 4, they had living conditions where they had those soulless demons, the beautiful
Love
prosthetics on
those.
that. They had a new man when Giles was a giant looked like the
that's
Yes.
legend
still not big
creature.
enough.
No, but
Yeah,
like
they would have had to set it up.
those prosthetics, master style prosthetics, and just
100%.
CGIing him to look bigger would have been better than just having a snake. Like I think like I was saying, like a wraith, some sort of like cloth type demon that was just huge and just shadowy would have been
Yeah.
great. It's just it looked so out of place. I genuinely wish someone could have went back and said, "Here's 30 grand, just fix it." Like just we know, but just fix it now, because you see what we have now, and it's just like with all the practical prosthetic movie magic that they could have done, it was just so much better if they did something else.
Part of me, it's funny because I think about that, and part of me would almost have liked an army of him, if you could imagine. So, have you ever seen how movies are made or whatever? The Netflix show.
Yep.
How we make it's fun, right? I watched the one about Alien or Aliens. Did you guys see that one? They made all of those creatures were puppets. None of it was CGI. And a lot of it was like garbage bags and different angles. And there was just kabillions of them, right? I'm like, see something like that. It should have just been, but maybe that would have mirrored a little too much the end. But it would have looked very cool if there was a bunch of them. I don't know how you kill them all at the same time. But you also have to think that his storyline was trying to be a little bit more of a commentary as well. Like, what will politicians, who goes into politics, not good people, and what are they willing to give up for more power? Well, in this case, his actual soul, right? He's willing to give up his actual soul. He's willing to give up his physicality, and I'm assuming be a big snake forever to rule what?
Well, in season
to rule what?
To rule what? I think but in season 5, didn't they have like this really great half puppet, half prosthetic shadow? I think it was episode Shadows, where they had this huge prosthetic snake that was working for Glory, and it would like slither away.
I didn't like that either.
But are we talking about that being good?
I would rather see a puppet creature put on a larger scale with like camera angles than the CGI snake that we got. If that makes sense.
I mean, yes, but like that was equally.
They were still terrible, but like it wouldn't have looked so bad.
From the snake, there was no
need.
It was
like this
during Glory, like
like running through the streets of Sunnydale, just being like. It was like huge. I couldn't take it seriously. I couldn't. Well, it's just like running after it as it's like.
Didn't they have
like done?
But didn't they have? Was it in season 2 or season 3? It was either the frat house that had that was with the demon, or it was the swimmers. But wasn't there like another snake creature? I don't know.
I mean,
there
was. It was the creature from Band Candy.
Right. But long story short, fire bad, tree pretty.
Yeah.
Fire bad, tree pretty. And on that note, look, next week we got to do season 4. We got to do season 4.
So much to say about season 4.
Nobody wants to do season 4. We're going to do season 4. We're going to get through it together.
I can't. I'm watching it now.
Through it. And then I'm also going to promise our viewers something else. I am going to get these two amazing guys in this house. We are going to have a Buffy trivia off. Anna's going to have to come up with the questions. You guys can't come up with the questions.
No.
Well, I can't.
Maybe your listeners can.
Anna's going to have to do all the research. She's going to come up with all the questions. There will be prizes. There will be outfits. There will be a lot of stuff going on during that episode. We are going to do episode 4 for season 4 first, and then before season 5, kind of to wash. Let's say it's a palate cleanser to wash season 4 out of our mouths. We will do the competition, the Buffy trivia competition right here before we go into season 5. Are you guys in?
Slayer Fest 98. I'm ready.
I'm ready. I'm ready to do
Slayer Fest. There'll be shirts. I think there'll be prizes. And
I love it. We can make the shirts. I can make those shirts. I love it.
100%. Shirts, the whole 9 yards. So next week, guys, we will do season 4. And before season 5, you guys will see us. And I suggest if you're a listener, I suggest maybe watching this one on YouTube because I think it's going to be fun.
I can't wait.
In my head, I have some Fear Factor things going on too. I don't know why. I don't know how to include them, guys.
Listen,
But
if
I
there's
think there's going to have to
prizes,
be.
yes, and
It's going to
everything.
be. If you get something wrong, maybe there's going to have to be, some punishment as well as reward.
I love it. Let's do it.
Go all in. Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out again. And thanks to all of my listeners and watchers. Stuart and Stefan's bio, all of their links will be in the bio somewhere underneath here. Go click on them, go watch them on TikTok, on podcasts, every single place they are. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. And I will see you guys next week. Same bat time, same bat station. Have a good night. Dismissed.